Tonia here, your host of the Alchemy of Me, where we navigate the anatomy of humanity through the lens of science and spirituality. Let's unearth the layers and unravel the systems in place that dim who we are and how we live and experience life. On this journey together, we'll weave in an eclectic blend of mind, body, energy, medicine, concepts, tools, and practices that'll nourish the seeds, the fire, that gold of intelligence that is you. This is an opportunity, your opportunity to reclaim, to rediscover, to transform, to alchemize you. The Alchemy of Me show starts now. Hello, Tonia here, your host of the Alchemy of Me, where we navigate the anatomy of humanity through the lens of science and spirituality. And I'm looking for something different today. When I first started on this journey with the Alchemy of Me about a year ago, just under a year ago, where we started and where we are now is two very different things. And all I can say is I could not have imagined where we would be right now in this moment a year ago. And I want to kind of use this in this time and this space and really this time of year as an opportunity for all of us to play, to experiment. And I'm doing that myself right now. I'm really not sure. There's so many things, there's so many ideas, there's so many threads that I want to pull in today, and I'm going to trust that the right threads are pulled, or the ones that, when I say right, it means, looking at what resonates right now, what feels true, what feels true to us as humans. What do we need in our process to alchemize? And when I was playing around with this idea of coming on the show by myself and not having a guest, every single show I've either co-hosted or had a guest on, where I am encouraging these thought leaders, these beautiful souls, to come forward and share what it is that they have to say and what magic they bring to the world. And it was interesting because I realized that, yes, I get to provide my own my take on what magic they're bringing forward, but I haven't gone forward and done that myself on my own. And that to me is an interesting opportunity to just say, hey, why not? And getting curious, like, why haven't I? Well, first things, I love having conversations with others. I love going deep into concepts and ideas that are thought-provoking at times, and also like really like come into this place of knowing, like where we're diving deep into our heart, and then also getting curious in, bringing the mind into it, not leading with the mind, starting with the heart, starting with our souls. Like, who did we come here to be? Why are we here? I for years was like, why the hell am I here? Like, I don't understand. Like, this is so hard. And it was just this churning and churning of like, what's my purpose? I remember sitting over and over again, and I don't know if, I'm assuming this resonates because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but I'd sit there and I'd say, like, what is my purpose? Like, what is my vision? Like, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? And I realized after years and years of doing that it was very much coming from that mind, that thinking space. And I didn't even tap into the expansive, the infinite expansion that's available to us when we are opening up and we're asking those questions from our heart. And we're saying, like, hello, you, that version of you, who am I? And why am I here? It doesn't have to be this grandiose leader of a Fortune 500 company. That doesn't have to be our why. For me, it's as simple as like to feel love and to be loved and to let that love radiate out to anybody that's open to receiving it. That's my why. And that's scary sometimes because that feels very, very vague. It's very expansive. And when I say like it feels scary, that's my mind, because my mind doesn't know how to deal with that kind of love, that infinite love that isn't just from in me. It's all of me, and it's all of us. When we look at ourselves in that place of infinite possibilities. And I had, again, like, I don't even have a title for this episode, because I was like, I don't know what we're going to do, because I wanted to come into this with my heart completely open, and to tell my ego, my mind, that there is a place and a space for, the analytical, for all of the thinking and the implementation of the magic, how to take that love and bring it out into the world, besides just feeling it. Like, how do I as a human being allow that love to expand and ripple out even further? And so that's where I say thank you, mind, for having that capacity to come along for the ride, to provide structure to this space and time where I am who I am. I am Tonia as a human. This is my human form of the who I am, as a person in this here and now. And just, I guess, for anything I say and anything I have said, just being open to receiving anything. And this comes forward as like what feels true to me. And I'll share, it's a resonance in my body. So if I say my name is Howard, that doesn't feel true to me. But if I say my name was Howard in a past life, and that feels true to me, I can say, that's interesting. Maybe my name used to be Howard. And so we can play with that. We can play with the truths within us that feel like a resonance when we slow down, when we say yes to this expansion, and we say yes to being here in this moment right now. And just, if you're wondering, like, who is Howard, I have no idea who Howard is. That name just came forward. I don't even know a Howard. So just a little side note there. But I want to share something that's coming forward. It's interesting. There's a lot of pieces this year. It's January 1st, 2025. And it's such an opportunity to look back at what has happened in the last year. And this year, the last year has been so big for so many people, for all of us. And how we step into that is, again, that opportunity for expansion. And then the other way to go is that contraction, going inward, and not inward in like a going inward for reflection. It's more of, it's almost like I see it like, if you can imagine a lifetime of going, like, contracting. So instead of like being open and expanding outward, think of like times that are a little challenging and you say like, ooh, I don't want to think about that right now, or I don't want to feel that right now. And you kind of do this like inward contraction. And I see it as almost like I'm seeing myself right now, as a, like, think of like 10 years of contracting, and maybe say I'm like a 10-year-old. And by doing that, you're contracting and like almost like you're laying on the floor in the fetal position because that is where you feel safe. And sometimes that's like a, like a trauma response, like when we're working through things like over and over again. It could be like one thing and we just say like, I don't want to be here anymore. This isn't safe. But there's those moments in time where we can just contract. Like, I don't want to, like, that person triggers me. I don't like that person. And I don't like this situation. This doesn't feel good to me. Those are all moments where we can either choose to expand and be open or contract. And what I mean there is when we contract, we're saying, we're just acknowledging that, that situation as being like, no, 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 no. I don't want to go there. And it's like a moment in time where you're making a choice. Or if you're open and curious and open in this like space of expansion, you're seeing that moment, whether it's that person or that, stepping into a room and it feels uncomfortable, asking the question, what is it about that person that's triggering me? Or what is it about walking into this room? There's a shift. Like, I just don't, something doesn't feel right. So being open to exploring, it's the same, like, what is it about that person that I don't like? And from there, it's the, what is it about that person that I don't like in myself, that I see in myself? A lot of the triggers and a lot of those like expand or contractive moments that we have are really just moments where we're saying no to ourselves. We're saying like, we don't want to look at that part of us. And I'm just thinking of this. It's funny because even just this show for me, you would think, as someone who gets out and not only just goes on and has a podcast to talk about things that feel very, I don't know, fun, interesting, also confusing to some. Um, why to hold space for all of it. Like, it can be confusing. Sometimes some of the things that come forward are confusing. And then we can say, like, well, what is it about it that's confusing? What could I learn in this moment? And so I will tell you that I do absolutely mortified of any kind of public speaking, to the point where it was diagnosed as a disorder in college, that I had a severe, I can't even remember what it was called anymore. It doesn't really matter, but I had exceptions around it in college where, like, if I had to do a test, or it was like some kind of severe anxiety around testing and just being out and basically being seen. And it's interesting because I'm going to share a story. Gosh, I was a junior or senior in college, and I was taking a structural geology class. And that was, I majored in geology and business. So that was kind of like that was my jam. Like, I loved rocks, I loved studying the earth. I could just get lost in it. And I had in the structural geology class at the end of the year, we had to give a 25-minute presentation. on something that we got to pick, anything around the world. So I actually picked like how the Red Sea formed and the Sinai Peninsula. So I'm talking like Egypt, Sudan, kind of over in the Middle East region there. And I figured, it's going to be it's super interesting. I'm going to talk about this. And then once it gets to the time to actually talk through it, I practice. I had probably 35 minutes worth of content, a ton of slides. I had everything written out in a way to support myself because I knew that it was going to be a challenge. I thought about it from when I first heard about the assignment all the way until the end of the semester. And I just remember getting up there in front of my class, which it was an upper level geology class. So there was only like 8 of us in this class and the professor. And I remember getting up there and all of the feels that happen when you're having a panic attack, if you've ever experienced that. It happened and I couldn't even form words and I couldn't even form sentences. And I had it all right in front of me. And I could see the faces of everybody just, eyes wide, like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Just looking in sheer terror. And my 25-minute presentation that I had prepped for 35 minutes, I finished in 6 minutes. And so I just share that as if there's something that you have within you that you say you can't do it, or that, it's the limiting beliefs of the not good enough, the I can't, just looking for these spaces for expansion. I mean, I know going into this, I'm not going to get it right because I'm human. We all are. I don't strive for perfection. In that moment, I was striving to be perfect. I was striving to be a person that I wasn't. And if I had just, looked around and said like, I'm supported, because what I felt, I will tell you what I felt in that moment. I felt so alone. I felt like I was going through this traumatic experience all by myself. And in the end, I wasn't alone. I mean, these are my close classmates and my teacher, and I'm talking about something they had no idea about. And so what was happening is I was sitting, it was just a judgment of myself, of this inner parts of me that I felt were like they were broken. And I think that's like we're not broken. None of us are. If you say like something happened to me, there was a trauma, I'm broken. No, like we're not broken. There's always things we can do to remember and to come back to who we are, to know that we are love and we are loved. And from that space, for me, part of the why of why I'm here today and I'm able to carve out this space and have no idea what is going to come forward is that I trust that I am supported, and I trust that whatever comes forward is what's meant to come forward. And it's that support and that love, that inner love and that inner fire of, not wanting that version of me, because it's still me having that, that contraction, choosing to contract for so many years, and then saying like, hey, what would happen if we all wanted to move forward and experience life in this expansive way? And so I want to try something, as I just rattled on there for quite some time. I want to try something, and I want to ask a question. And that question is, so looking at 2014, looking at 2024, we don't need to go back 10 years, but just going back in the last year, think of just allow yourself to, I don't want to think, so we're not thinking, we're feeling. So just taking a moment, let's just do 3 deep breaths together. So finding the bottom of your exhale, let's inhale through our nose and open mouth, exhale. Inhale through your nose and exhale. Last one, inhale and exhale. Okay, so from this space, we're allowing for something to come to the surface. So reflecting on a time or a moment in time or an event or something that feels like a notch in the timeline of your year. So just let something come forward. It can be something that feels either expansive or contractive, really sad, or it doesn't matter what emotions, just something. I'm trying to think of what, for me, I'm going to think of one too. Let's see. Gosh, it's been a big year. So I'm having, oh, yeah. Okay. So I will use this time last year. Actually, yeah, it was this time last year. I found out I had been very, very sick, which delayed this show by several months. And actually, you know what? Let me just pause. Let's just go through the questions first. So I will share that in a moment. So with your, like, what idea or experience just came up from 2024, just reflect on whether or not, like, was that expansive? Did that feel expansive? Or did it feel like it was kind of a shutdown? Like a nope, we're moving on. And so what I want you to do once you identify, first of all, what we're talking about, then go forward. Did you expand or did you contract? And then from there, I want you to think about what it would look like if you would have done the other way, if you would have gone the other way. So if you expanded, what would it have looked like if you had done the opposite? And then you can bring these to some of the, like this exercise. I'm not even sure what it's really just you're reflecting, you're getting curious about like how you are day to day, month to month, year to year processing, moving through life. Um, if we just barrel through and there's very little recap or reflection on what we're doing, we kind of just we're constantly moving through in this. I don't know, I always think of it as like a hamster wheel because we're just doing the same thing over and over again. And you can't really expand when you're in a hamster wheel because you're just going around, it's the same size. And so it's stepping out and looking like, okay, what does it look like when I step outside of this space? And so I'm actually going to use, instead of going into the health history, I know I've brought it up a couple times briefly on previous shows. And if you have, if you're curious, I'm happy to share more. Just reach out to me directly at tonia@wildminnow.com. And I'm going to use that example I shared about how I prepared for that presentation back in college, and then share with you actually how I prepared for our time here together today. And so, like I said before, it was very much, I was over prepared. I remember spending all night. I pulled an all-nighter the night before because my slides had to be perfect, even though they were already good. And again, like I said, just having that, basically a script written out for me. It was like I was a robot or trying to be a robot because that's what I had to get. Every detail, everything had to be shared, which obviously didn't happen. Versus today, and a lot of the shows I've done, it's been a progression. I use this time in this space as ceremony. This for me, our time together is sacred, and I feel that way so deeply. And honoring the time that each person that tunes in takes out of their day in order to maybe get a seed that or maybe nourishing a seed that's already there within that person to allow for that growth. And so I do take this time as really sacred ceremonial time. And so by doing that, so what I did today, I kind of just set the intention of that, again, like I trust that all will be well, it will be supported. And I spent about an hour this morning walking in the woods and just feeling like super held and nourished from that space. It was breathtaking. I mean, it's winter, and so there's not a lot of foliage, or there's really none. It's that, that part where we're going inward, but just looking at like all of the life that is still there, pausing and hearing the birds and seeing the squirrels still trying to, prep for winter that's already here. And it's just like it's like such a grounding, beautiful experience. And then coming back, and I always do some kind of a meditation or some kind of I basically spend an hour ahead of time before any experience or any show, just in like this meditative state, by myself, with spirit, and just asking for guidance. And that feels very different than how I used to prepare for very much like a thinking way of being. And I do feel like, as we choose to move forward as individuals and as humanity, how we move forward is into this space of creation from this heart space, and it's not from the thinking. But that is it's hard. It's hard when we've had a lot of life lived with thinking, and our ego has a lot to say. Our mind has a lot to say. And so it's how do we slow down enough to hear the whispers of our soul? And it's unique to each of us. Again, yes, my earthling suit is Tonia, and I'm grateful to be here now during this time of great transformation and massive alchemy happening within each of us, within the collective. And I'm excited because we've been sleeping at the wheel for a long time. And that's not a judgment. That's just more of like a heck yes, like let's be here. Let's be here and now. Like, yes, it's hard when all of these challenging things well up within us and within those around us and within the collective. And it's also that opportunity to expand when we say, why not? Why not love more? Why not see people that maybe before all we saw was opposition, or they're not as smart as X, Y, and Z. Well, those are judgments that we're seeing in others that we're judging within ourselves. I believe that 100%. I've seen that in myself, and I will not, I don't judge that because I am human. And I also, see that as an opportunity to get curious about what it is that I see in others that is bringing that forward. So we're going to take a quick break here. And before we do that, I do want to just mention we are launching a new membership with my company that I am so fortunate and blessed to be a part of, with many other amazing practitioners. And I'm excited because we're offering it to free for literally everyone for the month of January. And then it's at definitely an accessible price point so that anyone can be held and nourished by this membership. And it starts with the breath. It starts with going inward and connecting. And so we do offer concise daily breath practices. That's kind of like the foundation of the foundation. Live breath practices Monday through Friday. And yeah, so check it out at www.wildminnow.com. And I'll be right back. Hello, Tonia here again, your host of the Alchemy of Me. And we are kind of in this interesting place of just looking at a opportunity to expand versus contract and what that looks like every day. So I want to invite you now. This is kind of like an opportunity to just take a few moments to reflect on 2024. Again, more of a maybe I'll just ask some probing questions and then to leading into 2025. And I I find this to be a very important process, something that I do every year, or I have for many years in different ways. It's definitely evolved, and I encourage that as we grow, as we expand. Um, it's important to, again, just take stock in where we have been, and maybe just establishing a vision for where we're going and where we want to be. And so to do that, like just a recap on 2024, and I would encourage you to take this further. There's so many resources out there on visioning and looking at, how to get a fresh start into the new year. And I also believe fully that it's not just this time. So it's not just the beginning of the year. I mean, that's why resolutions don't usually work. It's like we get this momentum and then we feel like we didn't make it happen. And so then we just stop completely. And I would say with that, whether it's January 1st or you're rewatching this or listening to this, in June, every single moment is an opportunity to do this kind of a reflection. So wherever you're at on your journey, um, if there's something big that happens in your life, take this time right now um, to reflect every single time. Just check in. How am I doing? How am I being supported? What do I need right now in this moment? Really just checking in. And sometimes we don't know the answer to those questions. And so we can ask again, ask for guidance. Maybe ask for guidance during dream time. Um, I I was in Egypt. Oh gosh, I guess it was late November into December. And it was funny because maybe leading up to that, I went there for this pilgrimage that has literally changed my life. And I can't even um, begin to describe that shift within me. And, it was funny because I felt like before I went, leading up to it, I could feel things shifting in me. It was like my body, my mind, my soul, everything like knew that something big was going to shift, that I was shifting, that I was growing and expanding. And I have at one time, I'll, at a later date, I'll bring some more of that experience in and why that felt so expansive. And at that moment, I'd already kind of said like, oh, this is how, the rest of the year is going to go. And this is how I already had this like knowing of how things were going to be. And yet that moment, that experience in my life shifted things so drastically that I was like, okay, I'm going to allow myself to integrate, not to act. I need to integrate, allow it to realign at a cellular level. And we can have these kinds of experiences in everyday life. It doesn't have to be these massive, bring everyday normal into the same, you can have the same type of experience. And so it's that just noticing and saying, okay, let's try to look at this, because we have gotten so used to just barreling through. And we talked about this a little bit at the very beginning of the show. It's that autopilot. And then when you take a pause and you look at this, the wildness that this life can bring forward that you can experience, it's incredible. And so you can look at, yes, there's been some very hard, challenging experiences in 2025, 2024. Apparently, I don't know what year it is anymore. In 2024. And we're going to have more in 2025 and 2026 and every year, because that's part of why we are here. Our souls, each of us came here to experience what it's like to be here, to feel embodiment, to feel into what it's like to be dense to the point where we're made of something, where there's a physical, we're not just the ether. And yes, that comes with the challenging things. But if we take a step back at the simplicity, when we take all the layers of the hurt and the trauma and the things that we say are hard, it's the parts that are really like what matter. Like, what matters? What do you want to bring in for yourself, for humanity? What do you want to invite in? And just think that there's so much power in that pause. Allowing that space for reflection. As I said earlier, and I think this is something I've had to tell myself over and over again. And part of my unraveling of the traumas that I have allowed to be part of my alchemy, a part of my transformation, where I chose to expand. It was a choice. It is a choice. And so the invitation is 2024, or whatever year you want to look at, whatever moment you want to look at. Sit down, get comfortable, take some time to reflect on the year. Where did you expand? Where did you choose to expand, whether you're aware of it or not? And then acknowledging where or when you contracted. And what I mean by that too is that could be, I think a classic again too, because it's, just kind of towards the end of the holiday season. But a lot of times, we love our families. I'm not saying we all. I love my family. And I hear from a lot of people, and this isn't a judgment, it's more of like an example, is just how much we drink or numb or use substances this time of year to get through all of the different family dynamics. And I bring that up because it's very real in a lot of places. If you have a relationship with your family, that's like the first question. And then if there is that relationship, is it strained? And when you come together, do you feel this strain? Do you feel this contraction? And families are like, there's so much opportunity there within our family unit for expansion and for growth. If we can sit with and just observe, be that observer, that witness to how we go back into our ways of being, or if we don't, if we feel completely depleted around that time, why is that? And it's so interesting because it goes back to what I was highlighting just about the mirrors. You know, what better mirror than our own parents, or our brothers and sisters, or cousins, aunts and uncles? Expansion or contraction? And I don't know everybody. Let me cross out that I don't know. Everyone, humanity, part of who we are, there's always going to be moments where we contract. And that's okay. We can look at that part of us with gentleness, with tenderness, and just almost like an invitation to say, why? Why am I not ready? What part of me hurts, or is scared to look at this, or doesn't want to feel this? And so it's in all of that, looking at those little moments in time as like they're case studies, they're examples of how you can continue doing the same thing over and over again. Or what if we all said yes to expansion for ourselves, said yes to leading from the heart, leading with love? Whether you're, again, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or you're the CEO of your household, your role, every single one of us plays an integral part of the healing of humanity. Every one of us. There's not one person that's more important than the other. Each of us plays that role. And that feels really, really, just saying that feels very intense. I just want to acknowledge that. Because I feel that so deeply. And I have such a deep faith, and it's more of like, I feel like it's like a knowing. Like I have maybe it's like my love for, I believe in humanity. I'm not going to try to figure out why or where that comes from. But I believe that when we all, whether it's now or 1,000 years from now, we all choose to live life from this place that's not from a place of wounded the wounded heart. It's from this expansive, loving heart where we don't lead through our shadows. Where we're literally just we're in service. Living this life, experiencing this life in a way where we are all one. One breath, one heart. We're all connected, and we have this massive ability to shift consciousness and to shift how we are just by saying yes. Yes to love, yes to this beauty that comes from, I think I want to just give one last analogy before, I don't even know if it's an analogy. Because it comes back to even just the breath. If each of us each day stopped and we breathed together, if we came together as a collective and we shifted from this place of dysregulation where we're in this place of we breathe to survive, into breathing into this place of collective heart-led love and vibration, there are no words. So it's kind of like let's do this. Let's allow ourselves to step into our own lives, to step out of autopilot, to invite yourself into a life that's just supported and loved. And even if you are someone who feels very much alone, because I know that's actually, that was one of the first episodes we did, was around the loneliness epidemic. And I will say, on my own journey, it's not about how many people surround you. It's about the relationship we have with ourselves and remembering that we are all connected. And so I see you. I see all of you brothers and sisters out there. I feel you. I honor you and where you're at on your journey. And again, if you're curious or you need anybody, please, if you need support, I again invite you to join us for a free month, starting today, January 1st, and go to www.wildminnow.com. You can sign up there. There's a button in the top right-hand corner. You just click there and you sign up for one free month. And if you're viewing this later on, just know you can reach out to me directly, Tonia@wildminnow.com, and I will shoot a free month your way so you can experience it as well. Sending you, each and every one of you, so much love in this new season, in this new time, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to The Alchemy of Me, where we navigate the anatomy of humanity through the lens of science and spirituality. For more mind-body energy medicine concepts, tools, and practices to nourish the seeds, the light, the fire, that gold of intelligence that is you, tune in every first and third Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on transformationtalkradio.com. For more information about me and my work, please visit toniajohnson.com. That's toniajohnson.com.